Well, last we talked, I said it's Monday, about exactly about 5 after 1. Anyway, I said Tom was on his way. Well, apparently he stopped here on his way to Lake City for a couple of days. Tom's a big gambler. But anyway, he had said he had a set, and I said, well, bring it in. We'll see what it looks like. He did buy that sterling silver spoon that I showed the other day, a little over around 2 ounces, a little less than 2 ounces. Anyway, um, so he brought this set. Now here's another set that I guarantee none of you people have ever seen. I never even heard of such a thing. Uh, and Jared, see Jared, if you'd have come down here, you could have worked and taken this home with you. I kid Jared because his father said he couldn't come, and I didn't realize that he was still going to be 17. Uh, I didn't want that responsibility because uh, you're dealing with a minor. If he was 18, it might be different because then the legal system changes all around because I don't know if his license would have been honored in this country, and I don't know if his health insurance if he has it in Canada, whether it would have still been covered. A mess of things. So it's probably for the best that him and his friend didn't come. That's plain Jet 42. It seems like somebody's always trying to butt in. He just had his wisdom teeth removed, so he's home moaning. But luckily he didn't have to go to school and moan because it's President's Day. All right, let's get to the set. This is the craziest thing you ever saw. Now this is again Franklin Mint, 1972, and usually their sets are sterling. These medallions are 999. 999. Yeah, three nines. And it was called um, the Medal of the Month Society presents the great events of 1972. So I presume this was they put this out in '73, I guess. Franklin from the Franklin Mint. Now we'll take a quick look. I'll be honest with you, I took these out because Tom took them all out to weigh them, and there's fingerprints and everything else, so I cleaned them. Being these medallions have no, they don't lose or gain value if they're clean or if they're tarnished. So these have been cleaned. But here we go. Now look at this cover. I wish they'd have put that would have been a medallion. All right, here we go. Now the first event for the first month was uh, Sheikh Mumbai returns to Bangladesh. Now everybody's going to say, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Well, back in '69, '70, Bangladesh was wasn't Bangladesh. It was eastern Pakistan, and they had been fighting for years. And this sheik was in exile to get their independence and call themselves Bangladesh. Now, why they'd want an independence from Pakistan? I mean, Pakistan's crazy enough, but this was the poorest, one of the poorest countries in the world, Bangladesh, and it still is. But a lot of your clothes come from there. So this gentleman returned to Bangladesh. Now, I wrote some articles and got a lot of flack from them because I was one of the first people in the articles that I'd written to refer to East Pakistan as Bangladesh. So they got their independence. Now the second one, now see that's the front of the coin. On the back of the coin they have the other information. So this is the back of the coin for February. And what happened in February? Well, of all things, Richard Nixon, the biggest crook that was ever president, the biggest paranoid fool that was president, went to Beijing. First time a president ever had. And of course that's Peking now, but it was called Beijing then. Now we move up to March, and all my British friends will love this, and all my Irish friends will will puke. Britain resumes control over Northern Ireland. That was only going on and off for about 400 years. Now we go. This is the back to April, and in April we have a new offensive launched from North Vietnam into the Republic of South Vietnam. And these are all stories these are all taken from the New York Times. Oh, that liberal press, huh? Okay, let's move on to May. In May, there was a nuclear arms agreement reached with the Russians in May of '72. And we come a long way. Yeah, now we only have about 6,000 freaking nuclear bombs apiece. So we're making great progress, and that's '72. So that's only 42 years later. And this is the back for the story in June, again from the New York Times. And in June, we have the Supreme Court rules the death penalty unconstitutional, but only as it what do I want to say, as it was used in those days. Now, the Supreme Court didn't outlaw all death penalties. They just temporarily did, saying that it's up to the individual states, and then they have to use get this a humane way of killing people. Well, thank you very much. That was June. July, McGovern and Sergeant Shriver were nominated for the run for presidency in '72. So Sergeant Shriver, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it came out that he had gone into mental institutions for several times and had electroshock therapy because he was depressed and suicidal, and so they eventually, after a bunch of flack, took him off the ticket and replaced him. Now this is the back for August, and then we have take off on almost the same story, because we have Nixon and Spiro Agnew accept the nomination to run again for the Republican Party in '72. Shortly after this, Agnew was found to be taking illegal bribes in the White House. The biggest crooks. I mean, it's unbelievable. How stupid could Agnew have been? Agnew was the front man for the lip service, so all the hate that started now. He was the Karl Rove and the Grover Norquist of the day, but he would say all the nastiest things about everybody, and then it turns out that he was nothing but a fucking crook the whole time. Okay, so we move on to September, and then this was the root of many. Well, the root to this goes back between the Palestinians and the Israelis, but this was the first major international affair where the Palestinians snuck in to the '72 Olympics and killed a weightlifter for the Israeli team, and then I think they killed 2 people, and then they held them hostage to get them out of the country, and the German government allowed them to get to the airport, but then when they tried to free the hostages, the terrorists threw a couple of grenades into the helicopters where the rest of the Olympic weightlifting team was, and killed them all. And it's the last thing in the world that had to happen, of course, on German soil, and kill a bunch of Israelis. So, I'm sorry, we move on to October, and Kissinger makes an announcement that they are nearing a settlement for the Vietnam War. Now, this Kissinger is a war criminal, same as Nixon. That Kissinger, and then we have the Nixon tapes that prove that Kissinger told Nixon, don't stop the war before the 72 election is going to cost you votes. So, for all the hundreds of thousands of people in Vietnam that died between there and the end of the war, and for the thousands of Americans that died, this son of a bitch should be hung up just because they didn't want to do anything before the election. God forbid they lose a few votes. They were going to kill McGovern anyway. Just unbelievable. Nixon was so paranoid. That's what the Watergate thing was all about, and finally brought Nixon down. But Kissinger should have been held for a war criminal for sure. Well, let's move on. Here we have November, and of course, Richard Nixon was reelected in a landslide. Enough of Nixon, fool. And then one of the real tragedies of the entire year was in December. The buck stops here. Harry Truman dies. So that's a fitting end to our historical look of 1972. I don't know how many more years they made these, but those were all a little over an ounce apiece, and those were all sterling, or all a 999 silver. Geez, if I can get my friend over to take a picture of that, that might be my new symbol for my channel. But hope to talk to you guys. You know, I promised you guys on the chat that there should be something new coming up on Monday, and here it was. Please comment. Let me know what you think.